I thought this was interesting, a nice piece of bark, and it's really treated well because it's been soaking in water for some time. So I thought, let's see what I can do with it. So got an idea to do a sort of a hanging pot in it, hanging plant in it. It will be suspended. So let's see how it goes. Since it's very shallow, I thought we'll make a sort of a holder with wire mesh. Just pieces of wire mesh which I found in the backyard again. All this is sort of recycled stuff. I think that's the best we could do with it instead of wasting it. I hate wasting anything, so I've got a lot of junk in my backyard. So these are just small pieces of mesh which I'm going to just turn up and make a sort of a holder so that the soil can stay. Yeah, so let's go with that. So I'm just going to try and place this wherever it feels comfortable. Yes, and just turn it up. Yeah, turn it up. It's not going to be easy, but it's just left to you to just use your own imagination and whatever you have. Now I'm going to use another piece and maybe build up this side. Oh, that's lovely. Now these two pieces need to be held together, so let me just get that out of the way. And I've got small pieces of wire. There again, I'm using aluminium wire so that it's easily bendable and it can get within the mesh, just about 2 inches of it. And all you do is, yeah, I told you it's not going to be easy, so you just got to push it through the mesh, get it on the other side, and just a twist. Yeah, and see that you bend it down so that it doesn't hurt you when you're placing the other stuff. Yeah. So introducing the third piece. Okay, it needs to be bent up a bit. Yes, that looks good. When you wire it the same way like you did the other, and just a couple of twists and bend it flat down. I think it needs another support here, so I'll add another piece here. And just add another, just to strengthen it, another piece of wire. Bit of a gap here. Let me add a small piece. Just a small piece to be put in here so that it gets it almost level. And I don't want to use too much of mesh to cover the sort of a beauty of the bark. So we have to take care. We may fold it in later just to show more of the bark. So I need a small piece here. Yeah, I've got that. So I'm going to bend this up a bit so that, and I sort of like this peak, but it may be disturbing. So let's see, after the rest of it comes and we can always sort of decide what we're going to do with that. Now this side has to be done. So I'll just put that there. And if I bend that in there, wow, I've got another shape. It looks totally different. So yeah, I like that. So I think I'll just keep that. Can you see? It's a nice shape. It's a lovely shape. Can you see that? It looks like a boot to me. Yeah. So I'm just going to trim it a bit. If I place it in, yeah, it still looks like a boot, but maybe an ankle boot, not a very high boot. So after marking your 3 points, all you do is get the driller in position and 1. So I just got cotton cord about less than a meter long. Just take 3 of them and just a small knot on the top to keep them together. Oh, that looks tight. managed. So that's it. This is just to hold it together. And then I think I'm going to threadle it from the outside so that I get the knot on the inside. Yes. And just put a knot so that yes, it stays. So I have my, pull this back, right? There I go. That's good. So this is sort of a tilting too much down. So I'm going to pull that up a bit, shorten that, and I will shorten this as well. So I get my, yes, my bark level. So there it is, it's level. Now since the base is ready, let's just place this in. Yes, I think it goes about there. Let's see how it looks when it hangs. If you don't check it now, then it may be too late later. Maybe a bit lopsided. Right, yeah, that looks good. So this is how it's gonna be. I'm going to line it with some moss, dry moss, so that the soil does not drop out of it. That looks interesting. Just very flat pieces of moss. So it's going to be put there, here, maybe another piece here. Now for this to stay in position, I'm going to use a little bigger pieces of wire. Maybe we can cut it in later, but just so that it doesn't flop in. So I'm going to wire this. So I think all the sides are covered, and I've sort of lined the whole thing, and I've got a good depth. And now adding my favorites, that's brick. I'm using a little bigger pieces there so that it holds the mesh down. Coal and brick. These are that's a bit too big. These are my water retainers. So you don't need to water your plant so often. They will hold the moisture, and with the moss, oh, it's going to be great. Showing you my soil mix. This is peat, yeah, well powdered peat, and the same amount of garden soil. I misted it a bit so that you don't need to water your plant immediately, and you do a good mix up of that. The same amount of earthworm mix, and you mix it all in together again. I think this is very important to know the proportions of your soil mix, because it needs to drain well so that the roots don't get waterlogged. And now finally going in with a little bit of neem cake, which is the natural manure, and it also takes care of any, it's a sort of a pesticide. I think I'll add a little more, because you may be hanging it somewhere in the house, so you can't have creepy crawlies walking around. Yeah, get rid of that fiber so that it doesn't trouble us later. So that is your soil mix. You're ready to go. Lining the bottom with the soil that we just prepared. Just covering the brick and the coal. And see that you get to the corners as well. Right, that looks good. This is a sprig of Spanish thyme. It doesn't have much of a root and it's very easy to grow. It's one of the most hardy plants. So I think I'll place it there because it's sort of going in that direction and we need lots more space here. Adding a little soil on that. Okay. And this is my favorite, the philodendron, which adds so much of color, and the freshness from the green really brightens your room. And there again, adding some soil on it. I'm going to put in some brick on the top. You can use nice looking stones or sort of pebbles, but since this is going to be more aerated, I just want to use something that's going to hold a lot of moisture without giving any tension to the plant. And finally adding the money plant, which is very common in India, but this is the marble money, so that's not going in too well, so let me just use my hands and I just needed something to fill the front, something coming down. So as I said, if you want to hold the plant in place, you can just use a big sort of a stone or a brick, so that in this case, as I said, the brick will be good, so it's going to hold it together. And I'm putting in some more brick there and maybe a piece of coal. When it's moistened, it looks really good. So let's just hold it up and see how it's going to take the balance. If it's going to be lopsided, I hope not. Here we go. Whoa, and there it is. We've got it. So that's the final. I don't like to crowd the pot too much, so just check the back. There's so much space for it to grow, and you need something that does not grow too fast. This marble does not grow very fast. The philodendron is a bit wild, but if it does, then it's going to cascade down, which is going to give you a beautiful sort of a landscape effect. So, and this is going to go up. So I've got, I think, the right sort of a plants and placed it in the right direction, so that this flows down. This is going to fill the top. If it can, get onto this cord, it will also look good because it's a sort of a creeper. And this is going to stay as it is. So we've got our hanging sort of a garden here, if I can call it. The mesh looks good. And if you think the mesh is exposed too much, you can add a little bit of moss on the top so that it fills up the sides, and a little bit of moss here as well, which I'll be adding later. So there we go.